Alright guys, so real quick here, I did finally break down and give me a new phone, one that's actually from this decade. And this is the first video I'm recording on it, so hopefully things look a little bit better now, and everything goes alright with it. But unfortunately we do get to debut it with some negative news here, since unfortunately we got the announcement the other day that the Pokemon company is cutting off the servers to Pokemon Bank. They are ending service for that, I hesitate to call it a game, application, whatever you want to call it. But they're pulling the plug on it on February 25th of 2027. So that's what, a little over half a year from now, thereabouts. Which, this has been a long time coming. I'm honestly surprised it survived this long. I expected them to just pull the plug on it along with everything else when they cut off the eShops for the 3DS and the Wii U a few years ago. But they did manage to have it straggle on for a little bit longer. They even got rid of the stupid, $5 a year subscription thing and made it free. So it wound up surviving a lot longer than I expected it to. This is, of course, the service that was needed to transfer your Pokemon between the Gen 5 games to the Gen 6 games, the Gen 6 games to the Gen 7 games, and, of course, Gen 7 into Pokemon Home, if you're one of the poor, unfortunate, mentally incapacitated individuals who still plays modern Pokemon. So, I've never been a fan of Pokemon Bank. I always hated the concept of cloud storage. I hate Bank, I hate Home, I hate all this shit. I maintain that this always should have been a local storage option. There's really no reason that it couldn't have been. Prior generations had their intergenerational transfer thing built into the games themselves. If you were going to make it a separate application, then you should have at least offered a option for local storage. If you wanted to pay for the cloud storage to get, extra space or whatever, that's one thing. But this always should have been able to function offline. Even now, you cannot convince me that there isn't a way that they could just, release an update for it to make it function offline and still be able to do those cross-generational transfers. Since after that date, we are, of course, losing a big piece of Pokemon history here. Now, of course, there are the unofficial methods that you can go about with modding your consoles and still being able to transfer them through, fan-made applications. So, all hope is not completely lost, but it does make things more difficult and just a bigger pain in the ass. So, this is some negative news. As for me, obviously I don't play any of the modern Pokemon games anymore. All the ones on Switch are the dribbling shits, so I don't deal with those. I don't deal with Home. I don't deal with any of that nonsense. I do have all the games up through Gen 7, and long ago I did map out all the transfers and things that I needed to make, and I made some of them and never finished. So I am going to have to spend the next few months going back and, finishing up anything I need to do there. So, if you're like me and you still have some transfers to make and you don't want to resort to, the unofficial methods, then you do need to get to work on that. Now, ignoring everything from Home onwards, because I don't deal with that shit, focusing just on the Gen 6 and Gen 7 games, I'm doing all this from memory, so, if I get something wrong here, somebody can correct me. But I believe the Generation 6 games between X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, I believe just between those two sets of games, you can get all non-mythical Pokemon within Gen 6. So I think if you're looking for a complete dex, I think the only things that you would have to transfer from Gen 5 in would be the 3 other forms of Deerling, besides the Spring form, and maybe a handful of hidden ability Pokemon that were only available in Gen 5. So outside of a few little, niche cases like that, or, maybe just somebody that you have some sentimental attachment to that, was your bro in one of the old games or whatever, outside of that, you shouldn't have to do too much transferring from Gen 5 into Gen 6. From Gen 6 into Gen 7 is a little bit more involved, since the Gen 7 games had that weird situation where they had all of the Pokemon at the time programmed into the game, but not all of them appeared in the actual Pokedex. So you could transfer any Pokemon into the game, but the game itself didn't really keep track of it, so it could get a little bit confusing. Hindsight being what it is, we now know that that was a harbinger for the horrors to come. But yeah, if you do still want to complete the true national dex in the Gen 7 games, you'll have to do a little bit of record keeping yourself, and you will have to transfer a significant amount of Pokemon from Gen 6 into Gen 7, since there's no way to get quite a few of them. So, I don't have a complete list. It ain't too hard to find. You can use Bulbapedia or whatever to look this up. But yeah, if you want to do any of those transfers, you do have to get on that as well. There may be some niche cases where some Pokemon was available shiny in an older generation and shiny locked in one of the newer ones, since they started doing the shiny lock bullshit in like Gen 5, I think. So maybe you could get like a legendary or something in an older game shiny and then have to transfer it forward, and that's the only way to get it in the newer ones. So check for things like that. Make any moves that you want to make in the months ahead. Again, if you don't want to just, mod your console and do it with the fan-made tools. So, like I said, I already have this partially done. I'm going to finish up the rest of what I have to do. I may or may not go on some shiny hunts. It's been a long time since I've done a shiny hunt, so that actually does sound kind of fun. I might do that. But yeah, you got a few months here to finish up what you're going to do. And after that, it's, the fan-made way or no way. Which, again, I'm not real familiar with the whole home situation, but as far as I know, I don't think there's a fan-made tool that will let you do a transfer into home from the 3DS. So it looks like that is going to be a hard cutoff for anybody that is still playing Pokemon at this point. Which, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, you get what you fucking deserve. If you're still playing these modern Pokemon, shit pile games, then any suffering you can endure is good in my book. So, I don't care about any of that. If you do care about that, then, act accordingly. But, yeah. This is a weird situation since I always hated Bank, but now I also hate to see it go, since it's just one of those necessary evil sort of things. I don't think it was a necessary evil to begin with. Like I said, I think they could have made this offline years ago. I complained about this at the time, and of course no one ever listens to me. But yeah. So, now's your chance if you want to make any moves. You got a few months left to do so. But anyway, I guess that's all I got to say, so lots of luck to you and yours.